Hello to our dear viewers once again. Welcome back to La Token Venture Capital. We have a great project for you today.
Hello to our dear viewers once again.
We are here with the co-founders, with the CEOs of the project. I'll be your host for today. My name is Xavier. And like every session, we try to bring you the innovation, technology, and solutions you do want to hear about. And you get to hear it directly from the founders of the project. The best part is you are able to post your comments or questions in the chat box, and we will address it. So that's a great and unique opportunity to get to know more about the project. But before we move on to interview, as a reminder, you can always see our previous shows and content by visiting latoken.com/VCTV/shows. And also, if you're following our socials like Facebook and Twitter, just subscribe the same as YouTube, because you always get informed of great content opportunities and yes, even giveaways. One last reminder, anything mentioned here is not any type of financial advice. Please do your research before making any decision. It's your choice and your responsibility. And with that said, I would like to introduce to Gavin and John, who are the team behind JustCarbon. Gentlemen, very welcome. How are you?
We're very good.
Thanks, Xavier.
Glad to be here, Xavier.
Great. Fantastic having you here. I was reviewing your website. We have a lot of questions prepared. So before we start with the hardcore questions, can you please introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about the team behind it and the project itself?
John.
No worries. Yeah, I'll start. So, hi, John Auckland. I'm one of the co-founders of JustCarbon. So I'm actually an impact investor by profession. And even scaling back before then, it was a copywriter, so a marketer by trade. And so it was actually, funnily enough, it was on a carbon sequestration project that I was working with 3 or 4 of our co-founders on, when we realized that we had a huge problem that we were facing. Because this carbon sequestration project, it was a big seaweed project called Seafield. So the idea is you grow seaweed en masse, you sink it to the bottom of the ocean, and there it shall remain for thousands of years. And this whole concept was born from this whole concept would fall down if we weren't able to sell carbon credits, because carbon credits was our only revenue source. And so we looked at the existing market, realized that it was broker-led, it was all conducted over the counter. And if we were going to suddenly flood that market with 1 billion credits, we were in trouble. So in true entrepreneurial spirit, we set up JustCarbon to solve this problem. And so I brought Gavin into our project to help us. So Gavin can introduce himself.
My name's Gavin Henderson. I'm a digital strategist and design thinking practitioner. But also, I've tried to live my life, as certainly in the last couple of decades, more in an environmental balance. John and I worked together helping startups originally, and in a company called Tribe First, and all the startups were very much environmentally or socially responsibly focused. So when John kind of invited me into this project, I saw it as a huge solution. It's the challenge with, because I've been the consumer for the last 10 years. I've been the guy going online trying to offset my carbon, buy trees, reduce your footprint, do this. And there was a lack of transparency, big lack of transparency, and a lack of quality, because having worked with some of the projects, and don't get me wrong, tree planting projects, and various land-based projects are great, but there has been a history of a fair amount of horror stories of where people have invested in a forest, wants to see their forest 2-3 years later, and there is no forest. So for me, coming from a digital background, the idea of blockchain, something that locks something in and records it forever and a day, and the idea of actually only pitching at the highest quality and sequestered carbon, because I became an evangelist and a promoter of this when I actually realized that carbon sequestration it is the only way we can do it. The way I always explain it is, if if that's what the temperature of our planet should be, get my angles right, this is where we're going. We're tipping it forward. So if we plant a tree, that's going to help at this point or this point forward. What we need to do is take out what we've put in, that the thing that's triggering the temperature rise, and that is carbon. We have to take, it's like if you're going to repair something, you have to take the overflowing stuff out before you can put the new stuff in. It's the same with the climate. We can plant trees for tomorrow. We can save deforestation for tomorrow, for next year, but we've already made a mess of the planet. So we've got to kind of remove what's already there. Well, as you can tell, I'm fairly passionate about this.
You are, and I never heard this term. What do you call it? Carbon sequestration?
Yeah, it's basically, it's the principle. It's what John was talking about with seaweed. So very simply, trees, everybody understands how trees sequester carbon or absorb carbon. Plant, leaves, sunlight, rain, roots, tree gets bigger, carbon in tree, understand that.
Yeah.
But there are many other ways of doing it. What John was talking about, well, actually, I'll let John explain the seaweed in a moment, but carbon sequestration happens. There's some great products like biochar and things like that, that actually, if you plant bamboo, bamboo sucks carbon out of the soil. If you plant hemp, where bamboo can be used as, we're seeing lots of disposable forks and knives and plates in bamboo, so we're understanding how it's going to fit. Hemp is something that we used to make clothes, rope, packaging materials out of, but it all went out of fashion because we now use plastic. But hemp, as a tree, if you plant it, it actually sucks carbon out of the atmosphere. So the carbon sequestration part is really, really important. But what's really exciting is what's happening in what we call blue carbon, which is the oceans, which is my segue to hand back over to John to start talking about seaweed and carbon sequestration, I think.
Yeah, so I'm going to expand on this concept of sequestration because, if you think about the biosphere in general and how much carbon we have in our planet and in our atmosphere, there's only a few places the carbon can go. It can either go into the air, it can go into the sea, and it can go into organic biomass, and it can't really go anywhere else, or it can go into the soil. But that's kind of part of the organic biomass, if you will. So there's two problems that we created. One is that we have killed half of the planet's biodiversity. So we actually destroyed and wiped out 50% of the planet's biomass. So all this organic carbon that was locked up in just people and animals and trees, because there is less of it, that is now in the atmosphere or in our oceans. The second problem is that we are, by extracting fossil fuels, fossils are, they're organic biomass that's been locked away beneath the ocean surface, beneath the seabeds, beneath the ground for millennia, for millions of years. And so by pulling that back out, we're also adding to the total biomass that is now being soaked up by our oceans and our atmosphere. So when we talk about sequestering, we talk about sequestering either back into where it came from, so back into the seabed under the soil, or actually into biomass. So if you increase biodiversity by planting trees and also making sure it's a nice biodiverse forest versus some kind of monoculture forest, what you do is you lock away some biomass in the organic, in the living beings, and you lock it away in the trees and the soil. So this concept of sequestering is locking it away so it can't be used again. And the more locked away over the longer period of time, the better. So at JustCarbon, we focus on projects that need to lock away that carbon for ideally certainly more than 10 years, if not more than 50 plus years. Otherwise, you're just kicking the can down the road. So there are projects where you can sequester carbon in the soil, but may only last for 4 or 5 years. So we don't associate ourselves with that. We associate ourselves with long-term carbon storage through carbon sequestration. So when we talk about quality, that's what we talk about. We talk about how long it locks the carbon away for, and what kind of science has been put into demonstrating what's called the additionality. So additionality is any project that you create, even a tree planting project, will use carbon in order to plant trees. So it will use energy in the form of diggers or diesel or whatever it might be. And those trees may also, you might plant 1 million trees, but let's say only 600,000 of them actually survive through to maturity. So that additionality is how much extra carbon you've locked away from this project that wouldn't have happened anyway. And that's the really important thing, is if it was going to happen anyway, you can't count that and you can't claim a carbon credit for it. So we are making sure that we're operating at the highest end of the market. And look, it's a really opaque and difficult to penetrate market. And so what we've kind of seen is a lot of these tokenization, digitization projects come into it that don't actually have a lot of experience in the carbon markets. And so they're making a lot of mistakes because they don't fully understand it. So they're buying things like credits from zombie projects that have been proven to have no additionality. So when we talk about quality and sequestration, we talk about making sure that we are up there with the highest knowledge, the highest science, the highest integrity. And then when you apply that blockchain technology to those high quality credits, you get the best of both worlds, of a traceability that didn't exist with the carbon credit market before. You had registers that would register carbon credits, who the owner was, the project, where it came from. But they were built on archaic databases. Their evidence is double counting, not for anyone's fault, but just because there were mistakes in the technology. And so, these are the problems that we're trying to solve with JustCarbon. And we've surrounded ourselves with an incredibly strong team. So Adrian Rimmer, who hopefully is going to join us on this call in a bit, is a carbon markets veteran. And he was the CEO of a gold standard, one of the verifying bodies. Here we go. I'll let him do his introduction because it'll be far better than mine.
Perfect timing.
And various other people that are connected to the carbon markets world or the finance world, who are making sure that we build something with integrity that both coexists with the existing carbon credit market, but also has this appeal and unlocks new potential through the crypto blockchain community.
Okay, perfect. Adrian, very welcome.
Thank you.
Great. Gentlemen, there is a video that was featured on your website. Do you think it's a good time to show it to our traders? Just so they can have a visual understanding? Let's have a look at that. And after that, I'll jump on with the rest of the questions, all right? Let's have a look at it.
The world has woken up to the fact that not only do we need to eliminate man-made carbon emissions by 2050, but we must sequester gigatons of carbon in order to avoid serious climate change. Carbon credit markets already exist, giving us the opportunity to reduce and remove carbon, but there are issues. The market is clunky, using many intermediaries, expensive registries, and outdated technologies. JustCarbon is taking the market one step further by providing a global platform, taking down borders and using blockchain technology to directly connect sellers and buyers. Sellers earn more money and sell instantly. Buyers buy a precise measurement of carbon, making it easier to account for and less open to greenwashing. JustCarbon is the only tokenized business that specializes in removing carbon. Transparency, efficiency and value is created through a token system, giving its holders governance over the business, which enables a wide range of incentives, such as discounts on trading, zero transaction fees, and a greater voting share for participating. Each individual is able to hold their own carbon removal in a self-controlled digital wallet, giving you the option to either burn carbon to offset your footprint, or to hold and store carbon as a saving for the future, which can either be resold or deleted at any later date. JustCarbon amplifies the world's fastest and most efficient carbon removers, like seaweed farms the size of countries, where plants grow 30 times faster than trees, and seagrasses are 15 times more effective at capturing carbon than rainforests. Not only are you helping reduce carbon, but you're also participating in a wide-reaching and impactful market, a business for the world, controlled and owned by the world. JustCarbon, a global solution, accountable to people and planet.
Okay, very good, very illustrative. Now, I would like to share my screen and feature one part of your website. Let's see if I can do it. I hope you can see it now. Now, for our viewers, the website of the project is JustCarbon.com. Please do visit it so you can learn more about it. As you can see here, you can have the documents, the team, the white paper, the FAQs, and how to get in contact with the project. Now, one part interesting that I was reading, and I'd like you to explain a little bit more, is how does it work? And this will leaves us to the next topic, which is the JCR token. So who can explain us how does it work?
I'll take a shot with that. So essentially, we work with the existing ecosystem in the carbon markets. So we have, and we basically complement that by creating a better marketplace. But essentially, the way that a carbon credit is developed is a project developer will undertake a carbon removal activity. So that's either protecting an existing forest and putting in plans and processes to do that, or planting new forests, or other nature-based solutions. Our focus is on nature-based credits that have been certified to the highest standards by two of the leading certification bodies in the market. They're called Verra and the Gold Standard. I used to be the CEO of the Gold Standard, so for 5 years, and so I understand that market particularly well. But essentially, those organisations set the rules for how these projects need to be undertaken, and they determine the carbon accounting. So it's independently managed, and project developers work to those rules. And then an independent auditor will go and check that that process has been taking place and the amount of carbon being claimed to be removed has actually taken place. At that point, carbon credits are issued to the project developer. And the challenge in the market at the moment is it's very difficult then for the project developers to monetize those credits. They've got to find a broker, they've got to identify the right price, or they've got to go out and sell directly to corporates. Our system allows them to tokenize their credits and immediately trade them on exchange. So they can plug straight into the market with a clearly available, visible price and transact their credits straight away, which means they're getting money into their projects faster, and our buyers, the token buyers, are able to access projects directly as they come on stream. So it brings the buyer and the seller much closer together. But the key thing here is the way that we tokenize the credits that are issued. We then retire the credits in the traditional analog world, if you like, and the utility of the offset is transferred to the token. And the JCR, the Just Carbon Removal token, is that token. It can then be traded, or if you want to utilize its utility as an offset, you can burn it, and that allows you to claim that as an offset against your own emissions. And we incentivize both the trading and the retirement, the burning of tokens.
Okay, great, fantastic. And talking about the token, I did want also to share something for our viewers today. The token JCR is featured on the La Token webpage, and if you allow me for 1 minute, I would like to share that screen as well, so our viewers can actually see where it is located in the La Token page. There you go, latoken.com. If you go to /exchange JCR_USDT, you will find here the page where you'll be able to trade. In case you do not have an account with La Token, please go to latoken.com. Open an account. You just need to upload one piece of information. Once you do that, please search for the JCR ticker, and then you'll be able to access the project and participate in it. Here you find all the necessary information, the project summary, the tokenomics, and the rest of useful information. And I just want to show to the viewers today, this is the banner and the link that you have to follow to join the project. I'll keep it here out for a little bit more longer, and I'll feature it again at the end of the show. So with that said, gentlemen, I also found out that there is a giveaway, that there will be 2.5 JCRs each to 10 lucky winners who will join this giveaway. They'll simply have to follow JCR and La Token on social medias and trade JCR and La Token. So attention to our traders, there's a fantastic giveaway. Just keep an eye open for the announcements that we have on our Twitter and Telegram pages. And let's jump back to the questions now that we get that out of the way. Now, there's other projects also dealing in the eco area, each one targeting a different kind of ecological program. But can you tell us what makes your project different so that investors can move forward and invest in it?
Sure. The key thing that makes our approach different is that we're taking the best of what works in the existing carbon market. That's nature-based projects with the highest levels of certification that are available in the market, and that are issued within the last 5 years. And the reason for that's important as part of our criteria is that it means they're always using the most recent carbon accounting methodologies, because that evolves the whole time. It's a complex area. So it guarantees a high quality underlying credit that's tokenized. And those and that's a really quite tight definition. Those are the most sought after credits available in the market. So corporates really want those nature-based high quality credits. And therefore, we think that's an effective store of value, but also a liquid definition. So there's enough availability in the market that project developers can bring new supply on as corporates buy and burn. But it also means you've got a very clear definition of what we believe is high quality in the marketplace. And that we believe will ensure that there is continued demand for the credits and continued supply available to match that. Anything else you want to add? Anything?
Yeah, and I think I'd like to add, and also just Xavier, just to make sure that what the viewers of this understand, it's actually a JCG reward that they'll get for trading the JCRs, and the reason for that is, it's quite important to create the distinction between our JCR, which is a 1 JCR equals 1 ton of carbon removed from the atmosphere. That is the closest thing you'll probably find to a stable coin in the carbon market, or certainly what we want to create is something that's akin to a stable coin. So anyone that's sort of familiar with things like Paxos Gold, we're trying to create something that's similar to that in the way that it's kind of traded. Okay. And then separate to that, we have what's called the JCG, which is the Just Carbon Governance Token. So this is the token that represents, so one JCG represents 1 vote in any sort of voting event, and the ability to put forward proposals and various other things that are, anyone that's familiar with the DAO model will understand. And so decoupling the governance from the asset, so one almost acts like the product, the other almost acts like I'm not going to use the word share, but it's it's like the closest thing you're going to get to ownership in a DAO. And the two things work very symbiotically. And so at the moment we have some rewards where you can earn JCGs by trading and owning JCRs. We want to encourage participation on the platform. Those participation rewards will go on for the next 10 years, but they're obviously more generous now while there are fewer users. And so this is to encourage early adopters and early trading of the JCRs. And then we'll be launching on-la tokens. We'll be launching the JCG on the 25th of May. So there will be 2 tradable tokens. You'll be able to trade the asset, you'll be able to trade the governance token. So what we're expecting is the JCG will act much more like a traditional crypto project, where we'll see much more potentially volatility in the market, whereas the JCR you'll see much more stable. I mean, you look on the ticker that you just showed, it's a very sort of stable trading range. Yeah. And so there may be a bit of pricing in of the JCG into that as well at the moment. We don't know. It's kind of too early to say, but because we're including some JCG rewards for every JCR holder. But that's also another USP for us. By decoupling the two, we can act as a DAO should and be independent. The users of the platform will be the people that control its direction. And since 55% of the tokens and the governance are given away as participation rewards, it genuinely is that the users will control it over time. And what that allows for is that if the people that are using the platform the most, which is what we hope, is that large corporates and SMEs and even retail users, and what we're finding a lot of interest in is things like e-commerce platforms or business services, or anyone that's been wanting to provide carbon neutral services at point of sale, but has struggled to engage the traditional market, right? They don't want to buy sort of whole carbon credits in order to do that. They want something that's fungible, something that's instantly tradable, there's price certainty, something that's been unavailable to digital technologies that have been trying to provide carbon neutrality to their ecosystems. So we're speaking with a lot of these potential partners that are just going to plug JCRs into their system, or even wrap JCRs if it's a blockchain solution into their own tokens to make them carbon neutral. So we're having loads of exciting conversations like that. Yeah, so that creates a USP, if you will, for our platform, the fact that we separate these two things out. One acts like a commodity, one acts like a sense of ownership.
Okay, very good to know about that difference. Thank you very much, John. One question I have, when you actually are doing this project, do you focus on one geographic area, or is it really like more open to anywhere in the world?
I mean, delivery wise, it's pretty much open to anybody in the world. I mean, certainly, we're catering for traffic coming from France, Spain, Asia Pacific region, and the UK, because the obviously there's a couple of ways of actually interacting with our token. If you're a large business, you may want to buy hundreds, thousands, straight off the market. If you're a single person and you don't really do tokenomics and you don't really do that side of things, but you want to offset your holiday that you just had, to the States, or the new car you just bought, you can come to our website and without having to open digital wallets and all those things, you can just buy the offset. You can work out that you've used 4 tons of carbon this year, so you can offset your 4 tons of carbon, and we'll send you a certificate. So the person in the street that doesn't really want to be involved with the whole kind of crypto world or tokens, they can engage directly on our website. This, as can small to medium-sized businesses, but the larger businesses, we want to be able to actually create something that, when you have large corporations that need to, move thousands of tons or remove hundreds, thousands of tons annually, they should be able to buy them off the market, immediately. So your answer is everybody that wants to be involved with offsetting their business or their life, irrelevant of where they are.
Okay, great, fantastic. And currently, your community, is it coming from certain geographic area, or do you have them all spread out?
John?
If you're referring to the projects, I think the projects can come from all around the world, and we have projects that have been tokenized, credits that have been tokenized from projects in South America, in Asia, in Europe, and so we've made a point of having a geographic spread. So as long as the projects meet our criteria, being nature-based, certified to gold standard or bearer, and are issued within the last 5 years, they can be tokenized. And we think that offers a nice spread of project activity that the token holders can engage with, because again, as Gavin said, they're companies and individuals around the world, so they can reflect that.
Okay, great. What's the feedback that you have received? Okay, I understand from corporations, there's obviously a demand for this type of services, but from individuals, from the common people, from the traders, what's the feedback that they have given to you?
So I think the there's 2 exciting groups that have been unable, I guess, to sort of access the full potential of the market up until now. And so that is project developers and it is traders. The feedback from the traders has been good, because they, for example, they see the futures market for carbon, and so you have various sort of futures markets that's much more sort of down the compliance market rather than the voluntary carbon market, but it gives you a sort of good sense of where the industry sort of sees the price going. And so that trades at, I don't know what it's trading at the moment. It peaked at about $90, didn't it, Adrian? I think it's about $70 now, or 70 euros maybe. And so that kind of gives you some indication of where the market's going. But it's also been, that market was rising faster than the price of Bitcoin at one stage. And so, traders that I've spoken to have been excited because they've not been able to really access that market. I mean, of course, you can still trade the market in some senses as a retail investor, but is relatively inaccessible. And so where I think there are 2 opportunities that traders are excited about. One is that it's commonly accepted that the price of carbon is going to go up. So the Mark Carney's task force for scaling the voluntary carbon markets, he has come out and said that the market needs to go up to $120. To put it into perspective, JCRs are trading around $37 now. So you've got a relatively stable asset that we know corporates want, that is rising, and it's rising in a more kind of traditional growth market way, but still going to grow quite significantly. And then you have this much more sort of potentially volatile. There is no limit on how big it can get. There's a limited supply of JCGs. There's only going to ever be 1 billion in issuance. It's much more akin to the type of projects that crypto traders are used to seeing. So the ones that we've spoken to are incredibly excited about those sort of dual coins and how the two may interplay, how they can kind of hedge by buying their carbon. Worst case scenario, they have offset their carbon. Best case scenario, they've made some money. You know, it kind of brings a really cool new dynamic to trading that they haven't necessarily thought of before. And I think the other thing that's really excited me about some of the traders I've spoken with is I'm quite surprised that surprised is probably the wrong word, heartened by how conscious a lot of traders are about the carbon emissions that are creating, especially on the on the proof of work protocols that they've been trading on. That you know, they're quite aware of the impact that they're creating through their trading. And you know, that's why there's this big push for a lot of these protocols to go to proof of stake. And that is starting to happen, but we represent an opportunity right now for those traders to offset those impacts. And so that's, I think, where from both the traders and platform owners and exchanges and various other people in the ecosystem we've spoken to, they're getting really excited about these things. Yeah. But I do also just want to mention very, very quickly the project developers, because the ones that we've been speaking to, they've also been incredibly positive about all of this, because you know, right now, for the first time ever, if you are a farmer in Brazil that is reforesting degraded farmland in Brazil, you're planting trees. You know, right now you can tokenize your carbon credit into a JCR. You can put it straight onto the JustCarbon platform, and you can get $37 for it. Prior to now, they were probably lucky if they were getting $8, $9, $10. So immediately that's tripled, if not quadrupled, the money that's going into that Brazilian farmer's pocket. And generally speaking, a project developer, when they get more money, they reinvest it back into further climate action. So right now, okay, we're right at the cusp of this way, but right now that is possible for us to create immediate and significant climate action just through that mechanism. Now, obviously, there's a long way for us to go before it actually starts to come into effect. But I think it's incredibly exciting for the industry and for those people that really kind of matter the most to me in this entire ecosystem, that they have that opportunity.
Thank you for that. One question that just came to my mind. Do you have community leaders, like people there on the ground? For example, you mentioned the farmer in Brazil. He might not be aware of this. He might not speak English and so on. Do you have like community leaders in different key locations where they can actually translate and help these people?
So we have all of our materials are in multiple languages.
Okay.
So we engage and communicate. The website's available in Spanish, French, Chinese, even. And so we're making sure that they're accessible from that perspective. And then we also have a team of people who are spread around the world, actually engaging and working with
Great.
the market and promoting this as an option for them.
Okay, great. Because sorry, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to add in, I think it's also worth to join the 2 points that Adrian and John were making, you know, about where the offsetting is coming from. A lot of our competitors focus on either tree-based or geographical-based, or you know, and it's one of the ones that slightly annoys me, where you can actually go to a website and you're sold the picture. You know, here's the picture of something you need to save. Well, actually, it doesn't make any difference if it's in Brazil, in Spain, or in South America. We all live on one planet. You know, just you know, trying to get, and what we're trying to do is educate people that we all have this responsibility, and we all have to help to remove carbon out of the atmosphere. And I personally, where the pitch is, you know, save this. You know, it's like how charities used to raise money. They used to show you a skinny kid crying to make you, you know, donate your money. But now they actually show you what the impact, what the outcomes can be. This has got to be about outcomes. This has got to be about the future. So the way we're kind of very agnostic as to which countries we want to deal with, because we don't want to just be saving the rainforest, or just be saving that, or just be saving that. You know, it all needs saving. So actually, when somebody comes to our site, they buy a ton of carbon offset, and we educate them about what a ton of carbon offset. They don't buy 3 trees in a little picture of the corner of a forest somewhere that they may never visit. That's not what it's about. Our responsibility is to all of the planet, not just bits of it that we like the pictures of.
Okay, great.
And to
Thank you.
that point, you know, we're also very focused on transparency and traceability. So we have we call the JustCarbon Explorer, and that is a transparent way that people can view every single credit that's been minted and tokenized, and they can trace that back right through to the projects that they came from. So whilst Gavin's absolutely right, you know, the whole point is that this is climate action at scale that's being supported and globally. It's important that people can be confident in the action that's being supported, and therefore they can go right back through the Explorer to see individual projects, and they can then go through to the registries, which is the databases of the standards bodies that are being used, in order to look at the documentation, if they really want to, for every single project that's been tokenized. So there's we're building.
You mentioned the Carbon Explorer, right?
Yes, the JustCarbon Explorer.
Carbon Explorer. Okay. Right. Well, another question I had, and this is I know it's going to be a hard one. It's about to have the roadmap. Nowadays is very difficult to forecast what's going to happen in 1 year due to market conditions, technology, you name it, different supervision issues. But where do you wish the project to be in 3 years from now? Who would like to take this one?
Yeah, I'll take this one if that's okay. I consider myself a bit of a futurist, so I love kind of future gazing as much as possible. So the thing that we really want to unlock at JustCarbon is, you know, we're kind of dealing with projects that are available right now, and actually the reforestation kind of degraded sort of agricultural land. You know, they're really good projects, but they're so few and far between. And then on the other side, you've got some amazing potential with the ocean in terms of blue carbon. But it's a real kind of nascent industry, considering the whole sort of carbon credit industry has been around a couple of decades. Blue carbon's really new and really fresh, and there's actually not that many established methodologies for carbon credit verification for blue carbon. There's a few for sort of wetlands and things like mangroves. There's some for seagrasses, and one's being developed for various seaweeds and various things. But the potential is huge for anything from ocean alkalinity enhancement to advanced weathering to you know, tech enhanced or tech enabled nature-based solutions. And so we're right at the sort of cusp of this huge wave of different types of projects that are going to be coming to us. So at JustCarbon, our whole ethos is about making the carbon markets as accessible to as many people as possible, and to really catalyze a market that needs to grow quite significantly over the next few years if we're to actually solve this problem, an existential problem for the planet. And so the ways that we can do that is obviously making it as accessible as possible through sort of market forces. The other way is that we can make sure that we can get money into developmental projects as quickly as possible. And so we're looking at doing this either through creating sort of dedicated products. Maybe that's an NFT that's related to a developmental project. Maybe it's a separate token. We've explored that as well. You know, maybe it's us investing our own treasury reserves when they build up into developmental projects. You know, we're looking at any way possible that we can get money into securing our future supply of JCRs, which of course in turn creates further climate action. So where I see us in 3 years' time is, you know, JCR trading effectively, the JCG in the hands of people that really do care about this market and want to participate. So I mean, governments, banks, you know, project developers themselves, users, crypto traders, you know, people that really have a genuine interest in seeing this market succeed and helping to grow it. And then I see, you know, projects that have huge potential, you know, gigaton scale projects. You know, all these projects that you can see, and anyone can go on the XPRIZE website and see the XPRIZE Carbon Removal XPRIZE and look at the 60 projects that made, 250 projects that qualified, 60 that made it through to the final stage, and however many that won the $1 million milestone prize. You know, all of those have a potential of reaching a gigaton scale of carbon sequestration or carbon removal. So, you know, we're going to see a huge number of these come through and start to do insane numbers. And so I see JustCarbon, if I fast forward to 3 years in the future, being the project of choice for those projects, because we're already starting to speak to a number of them about securing exclusives, you know, potential gigaton scale projects that we're securing exclusives where they are going to give us their entire inventory, or at least they're committing to, which puts us in an incredibly strong position, because where the supply is, the demand will have to follow. and reinvesting whatever treasury money we have and finding really creative ways of getting money into those projects so that we both secure the exclusive and so that we enact to we enable that climate action.
Okay, great. Thank you. Adrian, Gavin, share the same? Any other ideas?
I mean, from my perspective, we are way short of where we need to be in terms of decarbonisation of the planet. There is a requirement, therefore, to invest in supporting sequestration activity, and as John said, new ways of doing that too. But you need a market to move the money from one place to another. And our goal is to be that market, to use the best of what's available in digital technology to make a market where those undertaking activities can easily see what the price they're going to get is for their credits is, to be able to easily and in a frictionless way transact them. And likewise, for those wanting to support climate action as part of their decarbonisation strategy and compensating for their unavoidable emissions, they will then come to a market that's liquid, that's transparent, that's clear. And so my goal for 3 years' time is that we're the biggest carbon trading mechanism on the planet.
Okay, great. Fantastic.
I agree with both my colleagues. I think they've covered it both fairly well.
What they said. Yeah.
But I think, as John and Adrian said, we need to trigger this market. We need to make it for a project developer, be them somebody that's planting seaweed, be them somebody that's working with mangrove groves, or we need to make sure that the money gets back to them, because at the moment, as John said at the top, traditionally, if they were selling their credits, they get like $9 for it. Today, if you go into JustCarbon and convert them into tokens, you could have them on the market with La Token for $36 tomorrow morning.
Yeah, that's great. I think the project is really ambitious. It's a great project. There'll be demand for it. I think a key part is education, is really reaching the people, educating them, because a big part of the people might not be that not interested in it, is that they're not aware of it, first thing, and second, they don't know what's their carbon footprint. They might not even know how to calculate that, or if they have one at all. People live in their everyday issues. There's stress everywhere. So maybe I think a big part of it will be the education, and that's why I'm actually making this program. So to our viewers, please visit the website to learn more about the project, JustCarbon.com. And once you have learned, if you actually want to take part of it, please visit latoken.com. You can search for the tracker, JCR, or just use the link that you have right now in the banner, and you can take part in it. Otherwise, you can still get in contact with the project by visiting the website. And with that said, gentlemen, I really would like to thank you for coming here today to share this great project with us, and would love to have you again on the show after a period of time to share with us any new development you had, any new learnings, anything. So, does anybody have any final words for today?
I think I'll just give to your point about education. If you go to JustCarbon.com, there is a page, offset page, and that gives you a really simple guide. We have featured about 25 different countries, what the annual carbon footprint is, because I agree with you, people don't understand it. And there's links to carbon calculators. The simplest thing is understand what the carbon footprint is roughly per head of person for your country. And that will, then it's, you, your partner, your brother, your sister, you, the two. It's very easy to kind of calculate. And I think, I just, well, we all share the same focus of being able to actually, get project developers funded better so we can take more carbon out faster, because people say the time's running out. The time's already run out. John, Adrian, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I guess I'll get one final thought, and that's I'm sure a lot of traders also run businesses or in businesses. The best way for a trader to ensure that any kind of investment into the platform is successfully realized is to get as many people buying their offsets via JCRs. So if you're going to trade this market, also get out there and shout about it, and the key message to take to those people is carbon credits are going to go up. This is going to get harder and more expensive over time. Educate yourself now about how to make your business carbon neutral, and hedge as well. Hedge the future price, because it's going to get more expensive. Like I said, it's Mark Carney's saying it's going to get to $120 within the next 4 or 5 years. So buy your next 5 years worth of offsets now, or 10 years. Why not? And then use your profits from trading them to buy more JCRs and trade your way into perpetual carbon neutrality. Hey. That's probably my only sort of takeaway thought, that I want to really impress the importance to a lot of people here. I'm sure you connect to people that will be relevant. And look, on a personal level, where else have you got an opportunity to potentially create impact and money at the same time? There's very few genuine opportunities, I think, in this world. And this is why I got involved in the project in the first place.
Thank you, John. Yeah, great. Adrian, any final words?
I think just to say, I think what we've created here is something that has real longevity to it. And we talked briefly about the governance tokens. I think our incentive is that we want to create a system that has value in voting and controlling the strategy of this. So if we're successful in building the demand and the supply side of the JCRs, and that's going well so far, then the system as a whole has value through the DAO and the governance tokens that allow voting on that. So I think that's also why we've linked incentives to trading in JCRs to the JCGs, the governance tokens, because we believe that will create future value and enable traders to benefit twice.
Thank you very much. Once again, to our viewers, please visit the website justcarbon.com. And gentlemen, from our side, thank you for your time. It's great that LaToken can partner with such a great project. We're very proud of that. And we do hope to see you again in another show once you have any new developments. And to our viewers, well, thank you for your attention today. Hope to see you in the next show, and have a great evening. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thanks very much. Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.